Welcome along, everybody. We are back for bronze. We are back in action here in Barcelona. Goodness me, I found out where we are. We are in the right place, hopefully. And we can hear the car audio. That's fantastic stuff indeed. Then good luck then to bronze. There's definitely Duke. Then, of course, last night's race winner in silver. Good luck from Rocket as well then. And evening all from Mushroom as well then. As we get ourselves started then. And we're off on a lap then as we go. Oh dear, I don't know what Balance doing though, because he seems to be having a bit of a problem trying to keep himself on the track. But there we go. We'll go back to Corey then. Corey then starting off a lap then, heading into the first couple of corners then. And we'll watch the Williams as we go round then to get ourselves a feel of the track here tonight then. In Barcelona, of course, very gloomy overhead then tonight, but it was pretty sunny then the last couple of rounds then for gold and for, of course, for silver last night. So we'll have to wait and see what the race is going to be turning up then in the bronze Grand Prix, of course, as well. Then let's go, Dan Dan, says Ben as well then, and we will see what Dan Dan can do then in the Alpine tonight then as we go through. And oh dear, I think that was a bit dodgy then. There's an Alpine then almost in the way of a McLaren going through there as well then. Oh dear. But anyway, we'll come back to Corey then. Corey then going over the crest of the hill then down towards the new hairpin, or the newest part of the circuit then, the hairpin, and heading into sector 3 then. Purple, of course, in sector 2, and of course he's on medium compound tyres as well then, so maybe not using those soft compound tyres just yet in qualifying. With 15 minutes left of the session, we started a couple of minutes well, we started the qualifying on time, but we started the stream itself a bit too late then. To Liam then to 17.4 to set himself underway in the Williams end. The second Williams end of Corey has done a 13.8 then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then Jin has done a 13.1 though in the McLaren to take away that pole position for the time being, that is, but only 3 drivers have set a time here. So as Liam is having a bit of a problem on the escape roads there, and it seems that Williams has got a bit of damage there as well, then goodness me. Right then, where is Vintage? Vintage starting off a lap then as well, then Ballin then is struggling then again, then he's having a few problems, it looks like, going down the main straight then. Where is that Mercedes, I ask? And it is You Mad Bro then. He has unfortunately invalidated his lap time, so he's going to have to go back around again and try again there, but he's got time to do so in this qualifying session. Hungry Styles then starting off a lap then, right behind his teammate then, Mr. Elite then starting off a lap as well then for the Haas pairing. Let's see who is next across the line then. It's going to be Dynamo Dan then. He's on the soft compound tyres. He's on the red wall tyre then, going super fast. Goodness me, I don't want to say anything too bad there, but going super fast then round the final corner then up to the line then for Dynamo Dan. Then what's it going to be then for pole position then, a 12.4, and that is pretty good indeed. And of course Jinder then on the medium compound tyres, but he's going to have to find a few tenths of a second there to try and beat his rival then, the Dynamo Dan. Real Ashton is on a 13.8 then, puts himself P3 in the other Red Bull then. Brilliant stuff indeed. And Kamara Racer said, evening Alex as well then. All racers, hello all racers, and good luck bronze as well then. Thank you very much Kamara Racer then, and hope we see you back then in a week's time for silver, that is, of course, then after the sabbatical last week, but we'll forget about that then. But hopefully you're recovering nicely, and looking forward to Canada then, of course, in a week's time. Here comes Styles then. Styles getting a nice little toe then, potentially from his teammate there, but oh dear, I'm not quite sure what Mr. Elite is doing there. He has wow, that is interesting. Let's just say that then. But yes, Hungry Styles then is coming through then. At least he wasn't blocked by his teammate there, but it was just a bit of an odd situation there from Mr. Elite. But nonetheless, here comes Hungry Styles then up to the line then for the Haas. Then let's see what he can do. That's a 12.9, puts himself P2 on the front row of the grid as it stands as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Then thank you very much to Kamara Racer then for the fantastic donation as well. Then of course that will go to helping the league. It won't go to Sean. It will go to helping the league then in terms of Smithy goes P4 in terms of getting trophies and all that sort of stuff, and then helping out for the divisions and whatnot as well then. And brilliant stuff indeed. Then Smithy goes P4 then, currently on the second row of the grid, a 13.2 for the kick salver. Even all from Jinner as well then. We need it, sorry, I think someone said good luck there, we need it for Serious Mushroom. Then Duke has said probably one of my best consistent drives then, says for Mushroom then, from Duke, that is, then after last night's performance then. 17.7 for Vintage then, but can he go again? Yes, he's going again there. I think he's just starting off another attempt then in that Alpine. Then we'll come back to him then. Where is IRS? He unfortunately has invalidated his time and going again as well then in the Mercedes, as quite a few drivers then still stuck in the pit lane, it looks like then. So there we go then. Dynamo Dan is back out on a lap then as well. Then we'll come through sector 2 then once again then to the current pole sitter. Then he's on a 12.4 as it stands then. He is currently half a second or so, or just over half a second away from Hungry Styles then, who's in P2 at the moment, that is. Of course there's still plenty of time then in this qualifying session then. Good luck bronze, says B Beast as well then. Thank you very much for Beast then, and looking forward to seeing Beast back in gold then in the next few weeks then, hopefully. Of course, it is a running joke then, but between myself and Beast, but hopefully he'll get himself in gold one point. Dynamo Down then has not improved then by 44,000 of a second then, so he wasn't far off, but unfortunately stays, well, he stays in P1, but he stays on a 12.4, I should say. Then Vintage has done a 16.6 and improves then to P, or stays P7, I should say then. Liam then is on a 17.4 for the time being, back out on track as well then. Ballant also out on track then. Where is IRS then, we hear you ask? He has gone purple in sector 2 then, and that is looking pretty impressive then for the Mercedes driver then as well, then going through the long right-hander then into sector 3. And now down the hill we go then, flying straight down then after they remove that horrible chicane, and heading into the final corner now as well, then going round over the bump then, and now DRS to the line then. Let's see what IRS can do. It's a 36, puts himself P5 then. Fantastic stuff indeed then for the Mercedes driver. Very good stuff indeed then. Qualifying to show then as a serious mushroom. We've got a problem then for you, Matt, he's off the circuit there, and oh dear, he needs to get himself out of the way then of the car coming through. Then Mushroom then heading into turn 1 now, and flying along then in the Aston Martin. And let's see what Mushroom can do then on his first outing here in qualifying, then rounding turn 3 very nicely indeed. And now heading into sector 2 then, there's a slow Mercedes. I think that's IRS coming back into the pit lane after completing his flying lap. Then round turn 4 then goes Mushroom then as a Mercedes and a Haas. Then hopefully they don't get themselves in the way then of this fast, very fast Mushroom indeed. Then that Mushroom is flying. He's a flying fungi, and heading into sector 2 then. And yeah, that Haas needs to get himself out of the way then of this speeding Aston Martin. Then goodness me, then round the top of the hill then we go. And oh no, I think he's trying to give him a tow, is he? I'm not quite sure what is going on here then, but no, down into the hairpin then we go then, and that Mercedes was definitely in the way then, and that was IRS, I think that was, trying to get himself, well, trying to block the Aston Martin, goodness me, it seemed that was very dangerous stuff indeed. IRS could be in trouble then with the stewards after that one as well then, but here comes Mushroom then. I don't think he's been able to, well, I don't think he's lost too much time from that as well then, but here he comes up to the line then. It's a 12.6, then puts himself on the front row of the grid then for Mushroom, and that is looking pretty impressive indeed then for the serious Mushroom as well then. Fantastic lap indeed as well then. Good luck all then, says Formula Moments then, Jake the Slayer, that is, in the comment section as well then. Jake the Slayer then onto the track now in the Racing Bull, but Mushroom then onto the front row of the grid then. Styles then starting off another lap as well then, heading into the first couple of corners, and Corey Brennan then P4 as it stands at 12.9 for the Williams driver then. Liam then is doing a good job then, 30.4 for the time being, but he's back out on a lap as well then, I think. No, he's coming back into the pit lane, I think then, so they might ignore me. Mr. Elite heading into turn 5. Ballant then across the line then to do a 15.6 then on the soft compound tyres this time. Would have been off the pace then for the time being. That it's got enough ERS to go with another attempt as well there. But Mr. Elite heading up the hill then towards sector 2 and flying across that crest of the hill then. Oh dear, he's got a bit wide then. That's dipped that wheel into the gravel as well then. I think that's invalidated his time as well then, unfortunately then for Mr. Elite then. Casey then first lap on track then, unfortunately has not got his ERS turned on, so that's that, but a bit dangerous stuff indeed then. But there we go, Umabro then heading into sector 3, and he is going very nicely indeed. He's gone purple in sector 2 as well then. Currently then heading into the final sector of the lap then for the first outing for Umabro on a flying lap, that is. And now into the next couple of corners and the last couple of corners as we go down the hill then into the final corner now then, making sure you don't go too wide there, and then of course making sure you get that first turning point nailed on as well then. Up to the line then for Umabro, a 13.6, puts himself P9 for the time being then. Brilliant stuff indeed for both Mercedes drivers then, up the top 10 for the time being then. Ballant then has not got any ERS left then, so he has to get himself out of the way then of those coming through then. Jake the Slayer is coming through, but he's not using much ERS then. Mr. Elite is back out on another lap as well then, but I'm not sure he's got enough fuel or ERS to go again here. And Luke is on track as well then. Championship leader then, Luke is on track then, heading into turn 5. He's gone purple in sector 1. We'll have to wait and see then what he's going to do then. Sorry, Mushroom, said IRS then. I looked at, I thought it was my teammate behind me. Sorry, I messed up. But yeah, hopefully that, well, Mushroom then did still got himself on the front row of the grid then, despite whatever happened there. But yes, we'll have to wait and see then if that's going to be looked at by the stewards. And once again, there's a Haas then in the way of a very fast Luke then heading into sector 3. I'm not quite sure the awareness on track then is very limited, it seems like, for some of the drivers tonight then. as we head into sector 3 now then. But he's going to be giving Luke a nice little tow, I think, around this part of the circuit as well then, as we head into the final corner now for Luke. Then goodness me, where's he gone? And where is the Haas gone? I think he's gone in the pit lane. Luke has gone fastest though with a 12.399 and puts himself on pole position then for the kick Sauber. Then fantastic stuff indeed. He is just ahead of Dynamo Dan by 13,000 of a second. Then if Dynamo Dan can find that time, but he can find that time currently then in sector 2, can he keep it all together then in sector 3? Then get that pole position back then from Luke, then heading into the final corner then for the Red Bull. Then let's see what it's going to be then up to the line then for Dynamo Dan. Then it's going to be close indeed. It's a 12.380 and it's put himself back on pole position here, and the rivalry then for pole position then carries on with 6 minutes left of the session then. But that is a very close gap indeed, 19,000 of a second then separating the top two. We've just got Jinner, then Jinner's done a 12.2 then in the McLaren. Then he's taken that away from both Dynamo Dan and Luke then to get himself onto pole position here, and Dan has gone up into P3 then with a 12.388 as well then. Goodness me, too many 3s and 8s there as well then. Fantastic stuff indeed then. So it's getting a bit spicy then. Jake the Slayer's then got himself up into P7 then. Fantastic qualifying so far for Jake the Slayer. Then Astra John has got himself up into P8 as well. Then he's right behind his teammate though. So I'm not quite sure if there was some teamwork there or not then, but nonetheless, we crack on. Corey Brennan then back out on circuit, then Casey up into P10 as well. Then Casey then coming through then to start off another lap, I think. Then yellow flags then for the McLarens. Then it's just Jake Slayer getting out of the way. Then I think Ginger Age yet to set a time. Then same for Mr. Elite, same for Winnie. Then Ballin back out on track as well. Then Real Ashton is not using up any ERS, I should say. Then on this lap, then Corey Brennan has started off a lap, then heading up into sector 2 and across the bridge of the hill then towards that Dex DRS. So then and heading into sector 3 now, 1.5 tenths up on his previous time will put him ahead of Astrotron then, but I'm not sure it will get himself ahead of Slayer for the time being. But there's still 5 minutes to go in this session. Then there's still plenty of time then even for Corey then to set this time and then get himself back round and back out again then for a final attempt then into the final corner then for the Williams driver. Then let's see what it's going to be then for Corey Brennan. Then up to the line then. It's going to be close then. It's a 13.0 almost on the dot then. But unfortunately he lost a bit of time then in sector 3 it seems. So unfortunately stays P9 for the time being. There we are. Good stuff indeed then. I think a lot of drivers then coming back into the pit lane then to cool down then and have a cup of tea then before they start off the final run then of qualifying. Then we've got quite a lot of comments then as well. Then goodness me, I haven't caught up with them. Good to see Muttram actually qualifying, says B7 as well. Then goodness me, evening lads from Vintage as well. Then Vintage our star subscriber, and there we go. Then we had yes LB apologising then for the issues and no worries as well. Then race ban for both, says Kamara Racer. Then goodness me, that's very dangerous stuff indeed. You don't want to be saying that then. So there we are then into the pits. No, he's not coming in the pits then for Dynamo Dan. I'm not quite sure what the strategy is then for Dynamo Dan. Then is he on another lap then? I'm not quite sure if he is or not. He has improved though on his previous time, and I was completely just missing that because I thought he was coming back in the pit lane, but he's improved to a 12.306, still just outside of the range then from Jinner, then under a tenth of a second now, but he has improved then nonetheless then on that previous time. Then will he have time to get himself back round and go again then in this qualifying session? Mushroom back out again then, same for Styles as well. Then goodness me, Umabra then starting off a lap as well. Then Ballin then coming across the crest of the hill then in sector 2. Then he is 29,000 of a second improved on his previous time, but he is now 1.1 seconds up on his previous time, so that will put him into the range and with Vintage as it stands then. Mushroom's fault, we're not used to him being on there in quali, says Vintage, and the Beast with a very happy emoji as well. Then yes, that's probably definitely what I agree with Vintage there actually. Yes, I think he must be all on Mushroom on that occasion there. And then there we go then. 14.0 then for Ballin, then puts himself P16 ahead of Vintage then by 7 minutes a second. Then good improvement then for Ballin then on that lap as well. Then heading into turn 5, goodness me, then we go for Mr. Elite then looking to get himself a first lap time and only lap time I think on the board as well here, because he's not going to have much time then to try again then after this attempt. Then we'll come back to him then. Where is Mushroom then, we hear you ask. Then Mushroom up to the line. Mushroom has improved by 0.3 of a second to put himself onto the second row of the grid. Then a 12.349 puts himself into onto the second row of the grid. Then goodness me, with a fantastic lap time indeed. Then where is Styles? Then Styles has improved as well. I think nobody stays P6 for the time being, and that is that then for Styles. Then Jake the Slayer starting off a lap now as well. Then heading into the onto the main straight as well. Then for the final time, I think in qualifying then for him. Same for Ginger Age, and unfortunately Ginger Age has been busy doing the standings probably, so that's why he's a bit slow to get himself going in qualifying. But we'll come back to him as well then. Smithy Almighty then up to the line for the final time in qualifying for him, I think. Then P7 for Smithy, then a 12.694, then puts himself then into the realms of the top 10 very comfortably indeed. Then there is his teammate Luke coming out of the pit lane now as well then, but I think that Smithy's qualifying done and dusted here for now then, because he's run out of time to get himself back in the pit lane. IRS jumps up to P12 with a 13.1 then for the Mercedes driver. Then good stuff indeed, then he's improved then, but I don't think he's going to be able to go again then in this session then, as we come out of the pit lane for, I think it's Vintage coming out of the pit lane there, trying to get himself back underway. So good stuff indeed then. Ballon then I think is done and dusted in qualifying. He might be able to go again actually though. Maybe I've got that misjudged then, but we'll see what you can do then. Mushroom back in the pits then, P3 at best for him then. Let's see who's next to go. Oh dear, we've got Jake the Slayer going well off the circuit there, and that is problematic then for Jake the Slayer then. That is definitely not part of the circuit you want to be on, and yes. Wow. Oh god, he's going to come on in front of his teammate as well here. That's Ginger Rage then. God, he's gone through a cloud of smoke then right in front of his teammate. God, but what is that then for the racing balls? Then I'm not quite sure what is going on there. That is dangerous stuff indeed. And Ginger Rage I think is going to be starting off another lap here then. So he's going to go again then, is the racing ball driver then. He's got some ERS to play with. He's got some fuel to play with then. And away he goes for the final time then. We'll come back to that then, because we've got, I think, Mr. Elite. Where has he gone? He's gone up to P6. Goodness me, I've missed it completely, but he's done a 12.5 then. Brilliant stuff indeed then. Up into P6 then for Mr. Elite then. Fantastic. I think that's Luke then starting off a lap then for the second attempt then for Luke. Then he's gone into turn 1, turn 2 now, and into that back end stepping out then for Luke. Goodness me, then that is dangerous stuff indeed. Dan is back underway then. He's starting off another lap then for the Alpine team then, and Vintage I think is starting off another lap as well then. I think he's finished a lap then. Sorry, he's another 14.3 then for Vintage, then P19 unfortunately for Vintage at the moment that is, but of course there could be some more chopping and changing in the order as well. Then Gino has gone faster still then with a 12.009, then puts himself, or confirms himself on pole position for the time being, but that is looking pretty formidable then for the McLaren driver as well then. Fantastic stuff indeed. We've got quite a lot of drivers then finishing their laps, then finishing their qualifying as well. Then here comes Corey then round the final corner then to finish off qualifying for the Williams team, and oh dear, that's yes, that was wide. Let's just say that then. Casey across the line then. Casey up into P8 then with a 12.6 then. Brilliant stuff indeed for Ferrari. Where is that Ginger Rage then? We want to see Ginger Rage coming back in the pit then. Unfortunately has abandoned his time then. What is Luke going to do? Luke then is abandoned, or not abandoned, he's validated his time unfortunately then for Luke. Then he's going to have to come back into the pit lane and call it a day then, but that's P5 then for Luke at best that is. Then literally coming into the pits as well. Then we've got another Alpine of Dan, and Dan is improving. Then Dan's on the front row then. Dan's on a 12.067 then, and that is mathematically 59 thousandths of a second, or 58 thousandths of a second. I can't tell. But Gina then is on pole position then for the Spanish Grand Prix. Then he has done it then by 60 something, or 70, 50 something. Goodness me, half a tenth of a second pretty much to Dan then, and Gina then claims pole position once again. Then here this time in Spain for a fantastic performance then from McLaren then in qualifying as well. Then so we'll see how it's going to fare then in the Grand Prix itself then in just a moment's time. Then Dan P2, Dynamo Dan then, his former teammate as well then, was is in P3 then, so that's fantastic stuff indeed. Messed up in sector 3 then, says Style, sorry, messed that one up as well then, said Formula Moments as well then. Goodness me, there's a few people having a few issues out there with the final lap then in qualifying, it looks like them. But there we go then. Good effort from Mushroom, sorry, from Beast as well. Full traction and 50-50 wings. Says come on, racer then. Wow. Right then, that's qualifying done and dusted then. Liam then is just taking his time then, trying to get himself back in the pit lane then, but there we go then. We'll run through the classification in just a moment's time then, as we get ourselves ready for the race itself then. 33 laps then of action to unfold here in Spain tonight. And Mushroom has said, all I am is an effort. Well, there we go then. So fantastic. Right then, we'll get ourselves cracking then, hopefully very soon, for the start of the race. I'm not quite sure what we're waiting for, but we're now done and dusted. We can have a look at the classification then, as Gino has he's done a very interesting face then to celebrate his pole position then. But Gino then pole position, then Dan P2, Dynamo Dan P3, Mushroom in P4, then Luke P5, Mr. Elite P6, the other Haas then of Hungry Stars then P7, Casey in P8, then Smithy P9, Jake the Slayer P10, then Astra John in P11, Corey in P12, Liam in P13, IRS and Umabro, then the Mercedes pair, then P14 and 15 respectively, then Ginger Age P16, the Red Bull of Real Ashton in P17, Ballant then in P18 in the Ferrari, then Vintage in P19 in the Alpine, and Winnie did not get a time on the board then in P20. Right, then it's time for action then, hopefully soon, because the drivers then sorting out their strategy, sorting out the setups and everything, getting ready for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. And it is going to be just a moment's time or so then. There we go then, get ourselves ready for the formation lap first, as we get ourselves going away for the... Goodness me, I can't tell what I'm doing. Yeah, there we go. Right then, get ourselves away then for the formation lap then. So an interesting combination of strategies then as well then throughout the grid. We've got the majority on the medium compound tyres. We'll run through the order then from the start to from the back to the finish, or back to the start, or back to the front. Sorry, goodness me, can't get my words out. Winnie then, hard compound tyres for the Aston Martin driver, then starting from the back of the grid then after not getting a time in qualifying, then vintage medium compound tyres for the Alpine, then same for Ballant then in the Ferrari in P18. And then we've got an interesting choice then from both Real Ashton and Ginger Age, and soft compound tyres for P17 Real Ashton in the Red Bull, and for P16 Ginger Age in the Racing Bull. So that is going to be very interesting stuff. Indeed, to see how they go then. Umabro then and IRS, both Mercedes pair P15 and 14 respectively then, are on the medium compound tyres. The same for the Williams pair just ahead as well then, 13th and 12th for them, and Liam then in P13 then medium compound tyres, as is Corey in P12 then as well. Then Astrojohn just outside the top 10 then, the hard compound tyres, the highest of the hard runners then. There's only two of them, but he's starting on the hard compound then for the McLaren. Then Jake the Slayer, medium compound tyres then in the Racing Bull. Then Smithy as well, medium compound tyres in P9 then for the Kick Sauber team. Then we've got two on the soft compound tyres of Casey then on in the Ferrari, I should say, then on the Red Bull tyre as well then, as is Styles then in P7. So Haas switching the strategy, because Mr. Elite then in P6 is on the medium compound tyre. In the top five then we've got Luke then on the mediums as well then in the Kick Sauber. Then Serious Mushroom then is P4 with the medium compound tyres to start with as well. Then Dynamo Dan on the podium places then as well then for qualifying. Then can he keep up there in the order of the race as well? Then we'll have to wait and see then, but he's on the medium compound tyres. And the front row then, Dan in the Alpine, medium compounds for him then, and our pole sitter Jenna is on the mediums as well. Unfortunately, he had a bit of a problem parking on the grid slot there, but nonetheless, we'll get ourselves cracking then with the start of the Grand Prix once everyone has parked themselves up, and we can get ourselves cracking then for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix here as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Right, we will hopefully get a better camera angle than this, but I can't guarantee it, but we'll just have to stick with what we got then, as we've got the 5 red lights coming on here in Barcelona. The 5 red lights are on there, the 5 red lights are out, and away we go for the Spanish Grand Prix in Bronze Season 9, and it's a good start, I think, then for Danda. Then he's all over the back of Jenna there, but Jenna's held on to the lead. Then Dynamo Dan then is trying to battle into turn 1. Then let's have a look and see how they're going to get through then into turn 1. Then there's a contact then as well. Then slightly a bit of rubbing is racing then as well. Dear me, there's a Ferrari then off in the background as well. And that's Casey then who's having a problem. Then there's an Aston. Oh, it's an Astra John then. Goodness me, he's had an issue at the second turn. Then he's trying to get that car back on track then, but unfortunately for oh dear, and balance off the circuit as well. Then my goodness me, there's all sorts of collisions going on here as we head into the first quarter. Then I think Astrodron and Ballant then might have had a bit of a ding dong as well. Then goodness me, and wow, that's good. Yes, there we go. Then at the top of the order, then it's all stage status quo. Then so that's really good. The top 7 that is stage status quo. Then gained the position at the Smithy. Then Jake's up 1 place as well. And same for Corey. Then he's up 2. Then IRS is up into P11, I should say. Then fantastic stuff indeed. Hungry Styles has got himself past his teammate. Then Mr. Elite then dropping down, but Hungry Styles of course on the soft compound tyres as well here. Then Luke and Serious Mushroom are having a bit of a battle as well then as we go through then to finish off lap 1. Then Astrojon, unfortunately, having the issues there as well. Then, and Balint and Winnie then are battling as well, going through into Sector 3 then. My goodness me, they are having a right old ding-dong as well then, these two, even down the back of the field, it looks like. My God. And Winnie then on the hard compound tyres then. I don't think, oh dear, where's Winnie going then? He's flying off the corner then. My goodness me, then Styles then up into P5 then is past Luke. Then, of course, Styles on the soft compound tyres trying to make hay whilst those soft compound tyres are in the best window. And Jake the Slayer's got himself up into P9, I think, then passing Corey down to P10 for the time being. I think that they both gain places then as Astrotron is in the pit lane then to sort out whatever happened then after that first couple of corners as well then. All over the place there as well then it was. But they've got themselves sorted now and calmed down then. Purple then for Styles then in the first sector. Then, of course, he's on the soft compound tyres and looking to storm on then in this stint. But how long will the soft compound tyres last in the first stint as well, especially with the heavier fuel load as well? Then we'll have to wait and see. Umabro's been passed by Real Ashton, then Real Ashton up into P16 now chasing down Liam then for that, P15 I should say, then chasing down Liam for that P14 position. Then Ginger Age has gained 3 places up into P13. He's trying to go for a move then on Casey, then into the hairpin. Oh dear, it's side by side then, both of them on the soft compound tyres, and Ginger Age has done it, then he's up into P12 then. Fantastic move indeed. And well, I'm not going to call it candidate of the season, overtake of the season just yet then, because we're only 7 rounds in, but I'm sure one that could be noted down then for Ginger Age, then I'm sure it'll be in his notebook then for sure. Right then, out in front then we've got a potential change of the lead then, have we? Because Dan is going for it. He's got himself through then, and now down the road Dan looking for a move as well then, but I think it's not too long straight then, unfortunately. The straight was not long enough, I should say then, really, as Dan then takes the lead then into lap 3. Then we go then flying through this race already. The first few laps then have really unfolded in majestic style, I should say then, heading into turn 4 then, and Jill looking for a gap then, but not quite then. We run through the rest of the order then. Everyone else has stayed status quo then in this in the last couple of laps or so then, since the first lap, that is, because we're now storming into lap 3 then. We've been flying through the first opening stage of this race then. It's been brilliant stuff indeed then. Liam's got himself past Casey. I think Casey's had an issue then at the exit of turn 5, then get himself back underway. Then those soft compound tyres not working too well on the Ferrari then for the time being. Real Ashton now is into the fight as well then for the points paying positions as well then, because of course in bronze the points go down to 15th place then for this season as well. Wow. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then Winnie is stuck behind Balint for the time being, then trying to go get past that Ferrari then into sector 3. Not quite then, as we go through then into the long left-hander, then round that hairpin we go then, and now Balint's got the inside then on the next right then. There's great battling indeed then between these two then. So far so good then as we go over the hill then, and now down towards the final couple of corners then. Balint holds on then, but I think he's going to be under pressure then from the Aston Martin as we go into the final corner now then, and there's going to be some DRS then. We'll come back to that then, because Jitter's taking back the lead then. Dan has been relinquished then from the lead then, as Schiller then takes it back then after starting from pole position as well. Then he's back into a P1 as well then. Here's the battle then. Winnie's got himself back past Balint as well. Then Real Ashton's dropped down behind Vintage, and I think he's dropped down behind Umabra as well. And unfortunately for Real Ashton, I'm not quite sure if he's struggling then on the soft compound tyres at this point already then, as the softs may not be working too much, or too well I should say, thank goodness me, at the beginning then of this stint. Of course they're on much heavier fuel loads at the point at the start of the race, and so maybe the soft compound tyres will wear out a bit quicker than they usually do then, maybe towards the latter end then when they're on a bit of a lighter load. But there we go then. We'll see what the strategy is going to be unfolding in front of our very eyes over the course of the 33 laps here tonight. But yes, of course, that's the whole aim of the game, really, isn't it? Luke then trying to go around the outside then of Styles, and then Styles then is on the soft compound tyres. Then he's trying to hold on to that position as well then for the time being. I think he has done just about then, and now carries on then for P5 for the time being. That Luke then trying to get himself through. Then the kick salvage then putting the pressure on the Hasses then at this stage. Go into lap 5 momentarily now as well then. Once again, the train for the lead of the race, and is pretty good indeed, pretty close indeed, let's just say that, as they're all separated by about a second then, as they go then heading into turn 1 then. Dynamo Dan then thinking about a move then on Dan, not quite then, but now we can maybe shake for a move then into turn 3 then. Vintage and Umabro then switching places, then Vintage passing the Mercedes then into P15 then for the Alpine. As we go into turn 1 then, Real Ashton is waiting in close proximity with this battle as well then. Casey then has dropped down to P14. He's behind Liam now as well, and unfortunately I don't think the soft compound tyres are working too well on the Ferrari then, it seems. But we'll have to wait and see then if that's going to change then later on in this race then, or what the situation is going to be in terms of the strategy then for both the all the Ferraris and all the other teams as well then, to be fair, because that's the way it goes in racing. But so far so good then in the opening 5 laps or so then. Ginger Age is up into P12, then he is storming on those soft compound tyres, so it seems to be working for one of the semi-Italian teams, just not the actual Italian team then of the Ferrari then. Luke once again then then this time on down the inside then on Styles, then he's got himself up into P5, then this time has held on to the place as well then, and Luke, the championship leader, then takes back that place then from Styles then after losing it on the start then of the race. And very good stuff indeed then. Those soft compound tyres then might be starting to get into the squeaky phase then as we go through the stint. Like I was saying, especially on those heavier fuel loads as well then, as we head onto the main straight once again then. Dan this time shaping for a move then. Can he get himself past and up into P1 once again then? Yes, he can then. Dan takes the lead once again as well then for the second attempt this time. And now can he get himself a charge on then as well then? IRS has been passed by Ginger Age, has he? Yes, he has then, into the first couple of corners then. And Ginger Age now up into P11 as well then. Can he chase after his teammate? Jake the Slayer has left the session. And my goodness me then, that is going to be promising stuff indeed for Ginger Age's teammate, because he can get himself up into P10 now. But hopefully Jake the Slayer can get himself back in the session quickly indeed. Oh dear, that Ferrari then of Casey is flying off the circuit at the exit of turn 4 then. That's a bit of an odd place to go flying off then, as Jake the Slayer has rejoined. But unfortunately, I think he is going to be he's going to lose a bit too much time then with that AI situation then as we go up the hill. Then Ginger Age is going to be going through him and into P10 then as we go through over the crest of the hill. Then Ginger Age now up into P10 then. I think IRS will get himself through as well then. But yeah, it's just unfortunate for Jake the Slayer. I'm not quite sure what happened there, if somebody stepped on his internet router or whatnot, but he needs to get himself back in the car, and hopefully he can get himself back in the car quickly enough, because the next target for Liam then, oh dear, that's Casey then on the curve there as well then at the long right-hander then. I think Jake the Slayer has got himself back underway then. Oh, has he? Goodness me, that car seemed to slow down then into the final corner there, but thankfully I think he's back underway. The DRS is now open for him as well then. Good stuff indeed. Right then. Everyone's still going A-OK then for the time being. Then Jenna was then going for a shape for a move then, but now Dynamo Dan round the outside at turn 3 then. Goodness me. And I don't think his tyre is going to be that happy about that sort of movement, but thankfully he's got himself sorted. Then Real Ashton has been passed by Winnie. Now Winnie on the hard compound tyres then is trying to make hay now. I think he might be phasing into this Grand Prix then at a very good point at this stage then, because he's now onto the hard compound tyres. The only man on the hard compound tyres after Astro John then had the issues then into the first couple of quarters and on the first lap then as well. Unfortunately for all the McLaren, then he's got himself onto a set of soft compound tyres now, trying to power on as well. The fair play to Astro John then for plugging away, and we'll have to wait and see. There's Jinner's gone wide, then Jinner's got an issue, then and Dynamo Dan's been let through then, and now I think the Serious Mushroom's gone through as well then as we go into the hairpin then, and now Mushroom is through to the podium places. Then Jinner's lost out then from the lead of the Grand Prix. Only a lap ago, then he's down to P4 then with that mistake as well. At the crest of the hill then we've got Casey and Liam battling side by side as well then into a sector 3, and my goodness me then, where's Casey then, where's the Ferrari then I should say. Then he's got B13 for the time being, then Liam's going to have to turn in there as well. Then it's close indeed, there's contact slightly, but they've got themselves through unscathed then. Goodness me. Wow, all action then on lap 7 then as we go through. Then here comes Gillen, then down the inside he's gone motoring through then, and just about slowed the car down as well. Then IRS has got himself past Ginger Age for P10, and Jake the Slayer then has got himself back in the car then, but he's behind his teammate now and behind IRS as well. Then Umabro passing Vintage for P15. It's all action as Vintage has gone, Umabro's gone wide, and now that's let Winnie and Vintage go flying through and into turn 3. Then Winnie putting the pressure on Vintage as well, then heading into turn 4 next. Then can he go down the inside then into sector 2. Then he's got the inside, he's gone for the move, he has got the move as well. Then P15 for him. Then Casey and Liam still battling away then. And wow, carrying on the fight then. They've caught up to the train then behind IRS then as it stands. And of course then the soft compound tyres might be starting to wane at this point of the race as well. Then here we go then, and Jinner's going for a dive then. Jinner's just getting a bit desperate, I think, then after losing out those 2 places then after the mishap at the top of the hill then on the previous lap there, is now trying to get himself back through then. But Serious Mushroom then waiting in the wings as well here, but maybe Jinner then is just wearing out his tyres a bit too much then in his desperation to get through. Then Styles and Mr. Elite and Smithy then trying to have a battle as well, then going through the final couple of quarters. Then Smithy up into P7 here, and now motoring on then as we've got pit stops. Then Ginger Age into the box, then he's calling it a day then after 8 laps on the soft compound tyres then, and we've got a change for the lead again. Then Dynamo Dan and Dan this time switching places then as we go through into turn 3 now. So Ginger Age into the pits, then Umabro has been passed. No, Winnie has got himself past. No, Umabro's got himself past Winnie. Sorry, goodness me. Then rolls reverse. Then Ginger Age onto the hard compound tyre, and away he goes. Then he is coming out then on the hard compound tyre. Then Winnie's got himself back past Umabro then for P14 down the inside once again. Then in turn 4, and this time on the next lap he's got another place. Then has Winnie then in the Aston Martin, then powering on then on the hard compound tyres, then into turn 5 and moving up a few more places. Then he's got a 2-second gap to try and gain then on the next few drivers ahead of him as well. well. Then Ginger Rage now on the freshest tyres of the field. Then hard compound tyres, 12 seconds behind the pack then as it stands. And away he goes then on those hard compound tyres, trying to get those tyres warmed up quickly enough then as well. Onto the back straight. No, it's not the back straight. Sorry, I was too far ahead of myself then. Onto the main straight we go. Then going to start off lap 10 momentarily then as we go down the hill then for the leaders and heading into that final corner now then. And Dynamo Dan trying to put pressure on his former teammate then, of course, then both of them in the Alpine last season. Then Dynamo Dan has moved to Red Bull then, but Dan stays in the Alpine. And here he comes then on the charge then in towards turn 1. Then what's going to happen here? Then Liam's got a 3-second penalty. Then Dynamo Dan goes down the inside. Then Dan holds on to P8. Then Jenner then always on the curb, then spinning the car almost as we go through into the first couple of corners. Then Jake the Slayer has passed IRS then for P10. Then oh no, there's contact then as Jake the Slayer then has clipped the Mercedes car then round. Then IRS then dropping down the order, unfortunately, trying to get himself back underway then. But that is costly indeed for IRS then, unfortunately then for the Mercedes driver, then hoping to get himself back underway then in this race. Yeah, very bad indeed then for IRS then. I'm not quite sure if Jake the Slayer is going to be in his bad books then, if there's going to be some sort of situation in the stewards room after that then. Jake the Slayer might be under review after that sort of move. But there we go then, heading into lap 10 we go then, flying through sector 2 then, and Dynamo Dan leads the way then. He is now of course the third leader of this race then so far, as we head into the end, I would say, especially the end of the soft compound runner's stint, towards the end then of the stint then for the medium compound tyres as well. So Ginger Rage with a very very early undercut, I should say. Will that be very good indeed, or will it come back to bite him towards the end of the race? Then we'll have to wait and see. Then he's got a penalty, unfortunately, then going through into turn 5 and 6 there as well. Then, 6 and 7, I should say, then over the crest of the hill then into sector 2. Of course, he is gaining on those fresher tyres as well then in this situation. Ultimate Beast has said Ginger Rage is going to struggle towards the end then, says Beast. Then unfortunately then for Ginger Rage and Dynamo Dan, and Ginner then are battling away then. And now Luke is in proximity as well then in P4, the championship leader, then trying to go around the outside then of Ginner into turn 4 then. Can he make the move then is the question then as we go diving into sector 2 then, and round the outside goes Luke. Then has he got the move done and dusted? I'm not quite sure then. Yes, he does then, up into P3 then for the kick Sauber then. Very good stuff indeed. And then down to P4 then, Serious Mushroom then in P5 for the time being. Styles then still motoring along on the soft compound tyres here. And wow, what's going on there? I thought it's Mushroom going for a move then on Ginner. Then Ginner's starting to struggle, I think, on this on these medium compound tyres. Then Vintage has passed IRS for P15. No, IRS is back at him then into P15 then for the Mercedes then. Good stuff indeed. Then IRS, of course, having that issue then has battled back then and back into the points paying positions now as well. Good stuff. Right then, out of the front of the order then, we'll see some more battling going on. Then Ginner is, well, he's not dropping off then, but he's having a few issues there. I think he's harvesting energy then as well. He's going to lose DRS, I think, then on the top 3 here. A yellow flags it in sector 2. What's happened then? Is it for Casey? I think Casey's had an issue. No, it's not Casey. It's somebody else then. Ginner's in the pit lane. Ginner's calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres then, and away we go then. Serious Mushroom has got some DRS to play with, I think. As we go in towards turn 1 then, Dan is taking back the lead of the Grand Prix, then passing his former teammate of now rival Dynamo Dan, then Luke P3, then Mushroom P4, but they've lost the DRS then to the top 3 as it stands then, unless they start battling away then. Into the pits comes Ginner, then hard compound tyres going on the McLaren, then out of the pit lane we go. Then Liam's also in the pit lane, same for Casey as well then. My goodness me, there's all sorts of pit stop action. Then Ginger Rage is motoring along down the straight, then he's going to get himself past Casey and past Liam with the undercut as well then. And now up into P17 then, of course, there's 15 drivers still ahead yet to pit. Then Ginner then is the net race leader, I suppose you could say, in terms of the pit stop phases. He is going to be right behind Ballot then in the next phase of the lap or so. Then so there we go, then in the top of the order, then the top 7 now. Well, apart from Mushroom, I should say, because Mushroom is trying to get himself back in that DRS zone of the top 3, then motoring along then into sector 3 now then on lap 12. Then this is where we might see those on the medium compound tyres start to think about a pit stop here. We'll have to wait and see if they're going to do that or not, because that's the other question. Because some people might want to just carry on then, it seems. But the top 3 are carrying on. Mushroom then is carrying on as well. Then into the pits comes Styles, and he is diving into the pit lane then for the Haas team, then getting rid of those soft compound tyres. I think it's a wise call. He's going to have to do 20 laps or so then on the next stint. Then is he going to go mediums or hards? Then is the next question as well. Then we'll find out now, actually, because we'll see what he's going to be doing in the pit lane. Well, we'll find out hopefully what he's going to be doing in the pit lane very soon. Here we go then into the final corner then. Ginner on the fresh hard compound tyres. Then he's going to have some DRS to pass Ballot. Then down the main straight we go then, and flying through then goes the McLaren then in towards turn 1 with the DRS as well. Then he's got himself through. Oh dear, that was close indeed. Then as we go into turn 1 now, and yes, Ginner then ahead then on the hard compound. We've got, where was Real Ashton? He's in the pit as well. The medium compound tyres going on for Real Ashton then, and away he goes then. Can he do the rest of the race on those medium compounds? We'll find out then as Casey's back past Liam for P17. Styles has gone for the medium compounds as well then, so he's done soft medium, same as Real Ashton then as well then, so maybe they think that the medium compound tyres can do the 20 laps then to the end of the Grand Prix from here. We will have to find out very shortly then. We'll see what the situation is going to unfold then as we go through then the next few laps or so. As we got yellow flags then, it's for Ginger, is it? Ginger Age is off the circuit here. Ginger Age has had an issue somewhere. Where's that? Top of turn 4 then. He's got himself back underway, but unfortunately not quite sure what's going on there. Dynamo Dan is in the pit lane then. Dynamo Dan calling a day on the medium compound tyres as well then. Same for Smithy, same for Mr. Elite then. So only a lap after his teammate then for Mr. Elite, who was of course on the soft compound tyres with Styles, but he's calling it a day now. And into the pits we go then. So Winnie now up into P4 then after starting on the hard compound tyres from the back of the field. Then Winnie is on a charge then. Ginger Age got 3-second penalty zone, sorry. As the Mabro and IRS have gone through as well. Then Dynamo Dan coming out of the pit lane. Where will he be in respect to Jinner? And there is the McLaren there. There is the Red Bull on the exit then of the pit lane as we come down towards turn 1. It's going to be very close indeed then, but I think Dynamo Dan's going to get it then just about then. Is he? Yes, he is. Oh, and Styles then just about swooping ahead then of Smithy as we go into turn 2 and 3. Then Jinner then is ahead then of Dynamo Dan. He's done a two-lap stint then on those two-lap undercut, I should say, then on those hard compound tyres. But Dynamo Dan just out behind the McLaren. Then Ginger Age got a 10-second penalty speeding in the pit lane and has quit the session then, unfortunately. So that's him getting a pit and quit warning, unfortunately for him. So there we go then. Must have needed the loo, but there we are then as we go then into lap 14. Then yellow flags fluttering then for the retired car then in the pit lane, and that's that done and dusted then for one of the Racing Bulls. Then the first retirement of the Grand Prix as well then is done and dusted then for the Racing Bull team, I should say. Then Umabro is starting to struggle on his medium compound tyres as well then, and unfortunately they're not going his way then at this stage then on this stint as well. Then of course they're getting towards the end of this stint as well. Then Mushroom is also in the pit lane from the medium compound tyres. Lap 15 is underway then, and we will see what is going to happen then as we've got I think that's just the car coming out of the pit lane. Then Jake the Slayer up into P4 now and chasing down Winnie as we go through then, as Umabro has carried on then. And IRS is in the pit lane then, so IRS calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres as well. Right then, Mushroom has been passed by Dynamo Dan then. Where is he? Is that a very slow stop, or is that something going wrong then for Mushroom then? I'm not quite sure. Mushroom has come out behind Styles just about there, and yeah, so Mushroom's come out behind Styles. Then Styles was on the medium compound tyres. It's been 2 laps ago then as well. Mushroom, because Mushroom's on the hards. So that's going to be very interesting stuff indeed then towards the end of this racing. Into turn 1. Oh my goodness me, Vintage and IRS very close indeed then through turn 1, 2 and 3. And Vintage then couldn't get himself his nose ahead then of the Mercedes then for the time being. But of course there is still plenty of time in this race to try and battle back then as we go through then. Luke now is in a challenge then for the lead of the Grand Prix with Dan. Then there's 9 seconds back to Winnie and to Jake the Slayer then, of course. Winnie then might be looking to extend the stint and of course on the hard compound tyres for the next few laps then, but these two carrying on as well then onto the main straight. Lap 16 then has commenced here as well then. And here comes Luke then on the charge then for the lead of the Grand Prix. Then can he take it away then from Dan? And yes, he can. Then so the 4th leader of the Grand Prix then takes the crown as we go through onto lap 16. Then Umabro in the pits, calling it a day then on his medium compound tyres as well. Then good stuff indeed. Then Jinner then takes P5. Dynamo Dan then is in contention as well. Then chasing him down. Then Styles I think is not too far behind as well. Then as is Mushroom as well. Then and Mr. Elite then. So all of these what is it? There's 6 of them I think. What do you call 6 people? 6 tuplets or 6 I don't know what we call them, but there you go then. So yes, anyway, there we are. Umabro coming out of the pit lane now. Where will he be in respect to his teammate and to Vintage, as Vintage going for the move then up into P15, sorry. Umabro is out ahead then into P14 then. Good stuff indeed. Then can he get those tyres warmed up then to try and get himself a bit of a gap there to his teammate and to the Alpine then chasing him down here. We'll have to wait and see then. Hungry Styles then is all over the back then of Dynamo Dan. And of course Hungry Styles on the medium compound tyres. I think Jinner's in a bit of out of shape then going up the hill, but Hungry Styles then trying to put the pressure on the medium compound tyres, trying to use them to their best advantage of course at this point of the race end. But of course he's going to have to do quite a bit of a race indeed as well. Then as Dynamo Dan and Jinner have come together, then that's going to be unsettling the car then, and now that's allowed Styles to go through then round the outside, which turns to the inside here as well. Then my goodness me, then Dynamo Dan's gone off the circuit then, and wow, what's happening in? Then Dynamo Dan's been passed by 4 drivers I think there as well. Then now Smithy's going to go for it as well then into the final corner then, and wow, that was very close indeed then between, I think it was Styles, it was between Dynamo Dan, it was between Jinner as well. Then Luke coming out of the pit lane is going to be ahead of all all of them as well then into turn 1 then. Styles then takes P4, 5 I should say, then Mushroom and Jinner then battling away, and then goodness me, getting heated indeed then on lap 17 already then. We've got 16 laps to go after this one. But wow, brilliant stuff indeed then as we go through then into lap 17, into the heart-pie point of this Grand Prix as well then. Storming through then at this point of the race as well. The both the Mercedes I think have passed Vintage then in towards turn 1 then as we go through then into turn 3 then. Both Mercedes now into the points paying positions as it stands as well, which is good stuff indeed then. Luke then of course is now put to the top 3, have yet to pit in this Grand Prix then. Dan is still patrolling the lead of the Grand Prix and storming on then in the start of this Grand Prix then. Astrodron is back in the pit lane as well then. Here comes Dan then round the final corner then to start off lap 18 as well here then. So unfortunately for Astrodron, he's been lapped now, but of course the leaders have yet to pit then in this Grand Prix, so he will not be able to come back at them then later on in this Grand Prix as well. We'll have to wait and see then. Into the pit comes Jake the Slayer then. Jake the Slayer calling it a day then. He's the only remaining racing ball then in this Grand Prix then, but he's now calling it a day on the medium compound tyres. Can he go to the softs from here then, or will he go to the hard compound tyres? We'll find out now. Styles then up into P3 then, passing Luke I should say, then Jinner's gone for the move as well then, and now diving down the inside then on Styles as well as we go through turn 1 and 2 then. Styles holds on to the lead for the time being, and Jinner then stays P4 then, but both of them passing Luke down the main straight as well then. Serious Mushroom then P6, Mr. Elite P7 and Smithy P8 then, and Dynamo Dan P9 for the time being as well. Then they've got a bit of a gap then back to Corey then, who's in P10 and in a bit of no man's land at the moment, unfortunately for Corey then, but he's probably not too unhappy about that. Yumabra then passing his teammate IRS then for P14. And away they go. Good stuff indeed. Fantastic. I'm losing my voice. Brilliant stuff. 10 seconds the gap then towards Winnie, I should say, then for Styles. Then Dan is going to be coming out of the pit lane, I think, behind all of this fighting pack. Then he's staying out once again. Then is Dan. So maybe trying to extend the stint then to go to the soft compound tyres towards the end. But he's going to be losing a lot of time then in this final few laps then of the medium stint. That is, they've got Winnie then, who's 8 seconds behind then on the hard compound tyres. Then Styles has done 5 laps on his medium compound tyres already as well then, heading into the final turn then of lap 18 then for Styles then to go onto the main straight. Then Jinner then might try and get himself through. Then Luke might be thinking about a move as well then as we head in towards turn 1 then. Let's have a look then as we go through. Then Astrodron has picked up a penalty then, unfortunately for Astrodron then, as we go through. Then Jinner has got himself up into P3 and away he goes then. So Styles holds on to that position, only losing 1 place then on that main straight then with the DRS then for Jinner and for Luke as well then. As we go through turn 3 now, lap 19. Oh dear, where's Jinner going? I thought he was going off the circuit then, but thankfully he's got himself sorted. And Luke go around the outside of Styles, and can he get the move done? I think the medium compound tyres are just about holding on enough then, but Luke's got the inside for turn 5, and wow, they've both got off the circuit, flying off the circuit, and Styles has got off then, and Luke I think has pushed him off the circuit there, it looked like, and now Dynamo Dan has got himself past Luke as well then, and now, oh dear, that's going to be tight indeed. Then there's contact, I think, slightly, but Luke's dropped down to P8 as well here, and wow, what was going on there then in turn 5? Then it seemed like Luke then just went too far wide then and pushed the Haas off the circuit there into that corner as well. Then Dan has finally called it day. Then he's in the pit lane. What a move from Styles then, says Kamara Racer then. I think that was an earlier move because it definitely wasn't at that point then. I think he was a bit perturbed, let's just say then, by what happened there. Soft compound tyres going on at the Alpine car of Dan, and that's going to be pretty formidable then towards the end of this Grand Prix. But he's going to lose out to the pack really behind him then as we go through the pit lane now. Then Dan dropping down the order, and Styles then has gone through then for that P8 position then. But Dan's not too far behind actually. He's come out just a few, well, it's going to be a second or so behind as it stands then as we go through onto lap 20 now. Can he get those soft compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix from here? It's going to be a tough call, but we'll have to wait and see then if it is going to be manageable enough then for Dan. Sorry, goodness me, already forgotten who I was talking about there, but nonetheless, 9 seconds the gap then for Jinner then, who's currently leading the way then, well, net race leader I should say, because Winnie is yet to pit then in this Grand Prix. We've got Mushroom then in the other Aston Martin then currently in P2, or net P2 that is. We've got Mr. Elite then net P3, then Smithy then net P4, Dynamo Dan net P5, then Luke net P6, and Styles net P8, net P7, sorry, and Dan net P8. So there we go then. Of course, Corey might be able to get himself a spot or two as well then from Winnie, but we'll have to wait and see then when Winnie's going to call it a day and then come into the pit lane. And not quite then for the Aston Martin, then who's currently leading the Grand Prix, then our 5th race leader, I think it might be our 6th race leader or so now, but there we go. So we go carrying on then down towards lap 21 then as we go into the main straight, and once again then for Mushroom this time trying to get himself a tow from the McLaren, then heading down towards turn 1, the ERS light flashing away then for the Mushroom as we head in towards turn 1. Gina covers the inside, then can Mushroom go around the outside? No, not quite. And Mr. Elite then all over the back of the two of them as well as we go through into turn 2 and turn 3 respectively as well. Then lap 21 then we've got 12 laps of racing to go then at the end of this one. Then it's been quite a frantic and fast-paced Grand Prix, let's just say that, but it hasn't flown past at the same time somehow. There we go then. I was just expecting to have my my early after race snack then, but unfortunately not then as we go through into turn 5 then, and Mushroom has taken P2 away, has he, from Gina then? Oh, they're going to go side by side through here. That's going to be tight indeed. And oh wow, that's going to be close indeed. A squeeze then indeed as well then as we go up the hill then. Gina's then lost out to Mushroom then, but he might have some DRS then to try and get himself back past into the hairpin as well here. Mushroom then up into a net race lead, I should say. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then Dan has passed Styles then on the soft compound tyres. Then Dan using those soft compound tyres to his advantage as well. Then he's going to have to try and get himself through the pack very difficultly, or very quickly indeed as well. Then I should say. Then Winnie then is on to lap 22. Then he is not pitted just yet. Then Winnie carries on then in this stint as well. Then looking to try and keep those soft compound tyres alive then towards the end of the race as well, I'd imagine. Gina then is all over the back of Mushroom this time, trying to get himself back up into P2 or a net race lead. And wow, where are they going then as well? Then once again then they're having a few issues then down the straight, and into turn 1 we go then. Gina takes the lead, or takes the net race lead I should say, then back past Mushroom then as well, heading into lap 22 then as we fly through then into sector 2 momentarily as well. Then good stuff indeed so far from this gaggling pack then that are wow, they're putting on a fantastic show indeed so far. It's been a fantastic stint then from all of them, to be honest, as we go into turn 5, and that is Mr. Elite then trying to stick his nose then in past Smithy, I think. Then can he get himself through? Then Smithy's going to go through though into P4 then for the time being then, as Mr. Elite then has conceded then to the kick saber for the time being as well then on lap 22. Dan is not, where's Dan? Dan is stuck behind all of these guys, I think, on the soft compound tyres for the time being as well then, and there's all sorts of things going on there as well then as we head into the hairpin. And I thought Dan was going to go for a lunge then. Mr. Elite then and Dynamo Dan then are getting close together as well then, as Mr. Elite is under pressure then from the Red Bull then as we go round the long right-hander. Dynamo Dan has got himself through then into P5, then Mr. Elite down to P6, then Dan has got himself past Luke then into P7 as well here on the soft compound as we head into the final quarter. Then lap 23 has commenced, then Winnie is still cracking on then on the hard compound tyres, as if there's no care in the world then for the Aston Martin leading this Grand Prix at the moment, but unfortunately he will have to stop then, otherwise he'll get disqualified. Down the inside of Mr. Elite then goes Dan I should say, then up into turn 1 then and into P6. And of course those soft compound tyres are working wonders at this stage of the race, I would imagine them, but of course he's still going to do another 10 laps then after this one, so they might not be working so well at the end of the race. Then as Styles and Luke then, no, Mr. Elite and Luke, sorry, are battling away as well. Then both the Hasses then unfortunately down to the back of this order as well then, but of course there's still things to come then in this race, I would imagine, from both the Haas pair, as both the Mercedes pair are battling as well then for the final points paying positions, and Vintage is very close indeed to those points paying positions as well. And good stuff indeed. So Mushroom then is right behind Gina. Then Gina's got an 8-second gap then to the race leader of Winnie, who's yet to pit then. But of course all these drivers in this pack then have pitted, of course, then to the hard compound tyres or to the medium compound tyres for Styles and for the softs for Dan. But yes, let's see what they're going to be doing then in the next phase then of this Grand Prix as well then, as we go through then into the last third, I should say. Then Winnie is finally in the pit lane and calling it a day on those hard compound tyres. Then 24 laps then for the Aston Martin then on those hard compound, or 23 laps I should say. So Gina takes the lead now on track this time, and here we go then. Mushroom then is mounting in charge then in towards turn 1. Then can he make a move down the inside? There's contact again then as Mushroom's gone deep then on the brakes as well. Then Gina might be able to fight back into turn 2, but not quite. Then the Mushroom holds on to the lead of the Grand Prix then as we go round into turn 3 on lap 24. Then Mushroom takes the lead as we go through then into the final few laps into this stint. And what's going on there? There's contact. What is going on then between Gina and Mushroom then? And my goodness me, it is just, well, that is not racing, unfortunately, then from both those two. Then they were really all over the place there, and yeah, the contact from both sides, I think, unfortunately, then as we go through then into turn 5 then, and this is getting seriously bunched up then, which could lead to a very serious problem as well then, especially if there's going to be driving standards like that then, unfortunately, which is not going to be very good indeed then later on then in this stint then, as we go very wide then for Dan then. I think it might be a warning then for the Alpine, but he's not picked up a penalty just yet as we head through then into the sector 3 then. Jake the Snare's picked up a penalty, unfortunately for him then. Currently that would not promote them, not lose him any positions, I should say. Then Real Ashton coming out of the pit, they now onto a fresh set of hard compound tyres and back underway. Gino then is now, Mushroom is leading the way then. Gino is looking to mount a charge then once again then onto the lap 25. And as we head on to the main straight once again, then hopefully this time it's going to be a bit better then from the two of them then as we go through then. Gino then has gone through then into P1, then he takes the lead of the Grand Prix then into turn 1 then, as Mushroom then dropping down to P2 for the time being then, but the pack remains the same in the rest of the order, I should say then. But oh dear, and now I think that's opened the door for Smithy then to try and poke his nose in at turn 3 then, not quite then for Smithy. And Mushroom then holds on then to P2 for the time being then as we go through then. Look at this train. Well, not the train really, it's not a train then because they're going so quickly indeed, all of them then, as well as we head through then into turn 5 once again then. They are flying through then. Dan and Dynamite and Luke then, sorry, battling away then into turn 5 then. Dan holds on to P5 on the soft compound tyres. I was starting to see the soft compound tyres start to become unfavourable then for the Alpine driver. Then maybe it's the wrong call then, unfortunately for Dan. We'll have to wait and see then. Of course, he is stuck in the pack as well at the moment, so, and he's trying to go for a move then on his former teammate then of Dynamo Dan then into the hairpin, and yes, he's got it then, I think, as well. Then he's gone through then. We've got a yellow flag there for somebody. I think it's Mercedes then having an issue at turn 4. He's got himself back underway then, but Dan's got himself past his former teammate of Dynamo. Dan is now putting the charge then on Smithy as well. Then Liam's picked up another penalty, unfortunately for Liam. Then it's going to be added to his race time at the end of the Grand Prix. But here comes Dan then heading on to the main straight. Then can he move for that podium place? Then can he get himself past Smithy? Then Dynamo Dan coming back at him though, down towards turn 1 with some ELRS to play with as well. Then Winnie's got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Where is Winnie? Then he's currently P11 and he's passing Casey then for P10 as well. Then Winnie up into P10 now, and he's got 2 seconds to close on Corey Brenner. Then can he get himself in this train as well? That he might be able to be fair. It's a close battling pack as we go through into turn 4 then on lap 26 then of 33. Then it's thrilling stuff indeed. And wow, what a race it's been so far then. Fantastic stuff indeed as well then as we go through then into sector 2 now as well. Then Luke and Dynamo Dan then battling away then once again into turn 5. Oh dear, oh that's close indeed as we go through into turn 5. I think Luke has got the move. Well no, Dynamo Dan's coming back at him, then up the hill we go then. Dynamo Dan is still there. No, he's not. He's unfortunately been passed then by Luke then as we head into sector 3 then very soon as well then. So there we are then. Both the Hasses then are waiting in close proximity. Then Mr. Elite then very late move indeed as well. Then might have put his teammate off there as well. But Dan has got himself past Smithy then into the hairpin of sector 3, and now can he charge then for the race lead as well? Then he's got Serious Mushroom, he's got Ginner to try and pass then. Will those soft compound tyres hold on to the end of the Grand Prix is the other question as well that's going to be ringing in his mind as well then for the Alpine team mechanics as well in the team pit wall. But here comes Mushroom then, and Mushroom's got into the back then of Ginner. And that's not good news. When he's got the fastest lap of the race once again then as we go into turn 1 then. Dan closing in very quickly indeed on the brakes then on the soft compounds, but not be able to make a move just yet then as we head into turn 3 then into turn 4 momentarily as well. Then lap 27, then 6 laps remaining at the end of this one as well. Then it's getting towards the end of the stint then under the Grand Prix here, but it's been absolutely epic for the whole way through then so far, and hopefully it can continue, but we'll have to wait and see as we go through then. Here comes Dan once again then. Sorry, I keep getting them mixed up, but there's too many Dans as we go through then into sector 3, so up the hill, sorry, towards sector 3 momentarily as well. Then heading into the long right-hander at the crest of the hill then. Serious Mushroom then has lost a bit of time then to Jenna then for this part of the circuit then, but of course has got some DRS then to make that up then into the hairpin then of sector 3. Then we go, and now Mushroom on the charge. Then Mushroom's got younger tyres by 3 laps. Then Dan is on 7-lap-old soft compound tyres, but of course they might start to fade a bit quicker than those on the hard compounds. Luke's on 10-lap-old hard compound tyres as well. Then Smithy and Dynamo Dan on 13 laps as well, and same for Mr. Elite. Then we've got Corey and Winnie then battling away then round the outside, no, round the inside. And what is going on there? They're almost joining wheels then as we go through. Then, oh my god then, and I think that's they've both got DRS as well then somehow as we go down the main straight then in towards turn 1 then, coming back to that then, because this battle here then for the race lead. Then Serious Mushroom go for a route then as he got the move then, not quite. He's going round at turn 3 And can he get himself his nose alongside? Not quite then, as we go back to this battle then as well. Then where is Corey? Where is Winnie? And there's a lapped car, I think, then of Astra John then involved in this battle as well then somehow. So, my goodness me. Well, we go through then. It has been action-packed then, let's just say, in this race. And, well, it's been action all over the field as well, especially in the top of the order as well, I have to say. There we go then, as we head up the hill then once again then into lap 28 now. We're getting towards the dying embers then of the Spanish Grand Prix. This is the end of round 7 then for ALR this week then. Of course, gold and silver have done their efforts around Spain as well then. And now we've got the bronze stallions doing their job as well then, and Corey back past Winnie as well then, so they're still carrying on their fight, and the soft compound tyres not working well enough for Winnie then to get himself ahead of Williams and create a gap then. Here we go then into the final corner to start off lap 29 then. Will Mushroom mount a charge then? Will Dan mount a charge then? Or what will happen then? Will Ginner be able to hold on to the lead of the Grand Prix as we go through then on to lap 29 then? Down the main straight we go then for Serious Mushroom, and he's coming closer, but he's not close enough then to make the move then for the lead of the Grand Prix. Driver of the day is out in the comment section. Then Mushroom, who's that? Mr. Elite, then Winnie and Smithy are your candidates then for driver of the day. Then here is the penalty situation. We haven't got anybody with penalties really then, apart from Jet Slayer, then Liam, and unfortunately for Astra John as well then. So position changes is what we want to see then, isn't it? Mushroom is up 2 places, then could potentially go for the lead of the Grand Prix. We've got moves then, round the outside goes Luke, then into turn 5, then can he make the move stick? Then not quite. And Smithy's gone through then on his teammate there as well, then into P4, I should say. Then goodness me, what was going on there then between the kick Alpines, I should say. But then up into P4 then for Smithy. Then good stuff indeed. But yes, not sure if Luke's going to be too happy about that. Of course, being the championship leader, then maybe there's some team orders down at kick that Smithy has ignored completely there. But he has done a good job so far. Then Smithy then up into P4, then up 5 places. Then Winnie and Corey then carrying on their battle. Then Winnie then very late on the brakes then. Yeah, Winnie then has got himself up into P9, I should say. Then Winnie then is up 11 places then as well. Ginner's got a 3-second penalty. Then Ginner's got a 3-second penalty at the end of lap 29. Then on to lap 30. Then that could open the door for plenty of drivers to try and stick their nose in as well here. But not quite then into turn 1. Then Ginner holds on for the time being. Then lap 30. Then there's 4 laps to go then, including this one. Then Corey and Winnie then once again fighting then into turn 1 and 2 then. And Astra John then is in the fight as well then. Like I said, he's a bit of a lap car there, but he has got himself out of the way now, I believe. Oh dear, we've got more moves and shakes going on as well. Then Dan has got himself in the fight then with the kick sabers as well. Then Dynamo Dan has dropped down between Mr. Elite and Styles as well here in the Haas pair. And then I think Styles then is trying to get himself past as well. Then he has got himself past as well then into turn 5 and 6 then. And Styles then off the circuit almost. Then he's lost out that place then after he just got it through then very nicely indeed. Then he's lost out to Dynamo Dan once again then. So P7 and P8 for him as well respectively then. Serious Mushroom has passed Ginner then for the lead of the Grand Prix. Then what's happened there? There's problems then for Mr. Elite then. I think, there's all sorts of shenanigans going on there. Dan's off and Smithy's off then. And what has gone on there as well? Then Smithy's flying off the circuit then. Casey's going to go through then for P10 as well. Then Dan's dropped down to P8. Then Corey's up into P7 as well here. Then fantastic stuff indeed for Corey. But I'm not quite sure what is going on for Smithy then and for the other people as well then. Smithy seems to be having a bit of a problem trying to get himself going again. Then unfortunately for Smithy, then Styles has passed Dynamo Dan then into P4. Then the top 3 have scampered off into the distance as well. Then once again then Serious Mushroom is on for a race win as it stands in, but of course there's still 2 laps to go then after this one as well. Then so anything can happen as we've already seen, and unfortunately it's whatever happened there has sort of compounded the race then after that with the one incident then in this race so far then pretty much, and that's that. And then it's caused problems then for Dan, for Mr. Elite then, and for Smithy then. I think for Smithy then he's unfortunately the biggest loser, let's just say, in that situation there as well. And he's dropped himself out of the top 10, I should say. Dan then is still within the fight then. Of course the soft combat tire is probably not the best tire to be on at this stage, unfortunately for Dan as well then. But he's got himself still in the pack then at this stage as well then, and Mr. Elite is still in the pack as well then for the time being. So yes, we'll have to wait and see. We'll play it by ear then, shall we? But there we go then. That's going to have a bit more of a conundrum then for the driver of the day vote then, because Mushroom, Mr. Elite, then Winnie and Smithy. Then Winnie's now up into P6. Then Dynamo Dan's past Hungry Styles for P4. Mr. Elite unfortunately has picked up a penalty as well, and that could open the door for Casey to get himself another points paying position as well. Then Serious Mushroom has been passed by Luke, has he? Oh my god, then into turn 1, and that was dangerous. Hungry Styles back past Dynamo Dan, then Humabro's picked up a penalty as well. Then, my goodness me, the penalty's starting to roll in the final couple of laps, and his concentration starts to wane here in this race then as well. Wow, Dynamo Dan, then Winnie then has caught up. Winnie, look at Winnie go. He's flying then as Winnie. Wow, down the inside then of Styles. Then he's got himself through at turn 4 then. And passing the Haas then into turn 4 very nicely indeed. Then Winnie then all over the back of Dynamo Dan for that P4 position then. And I think he's going to go for it now. Is he? No, he's not. He's thinking about it, but he's almost into the back of that Red Bull as well, to be fair. Heading up the hill then in sector 2. He's up 15 places. Could make it 16 here for Winnie then if he can get himself past cleanly, that is, past the Red Bull then as well. Then heading into lap 32 then. We've got one more lap to go then at the end of this one. And wow, Corey, I thought he was going to go for a dive then. Corey's got himself through. Then there's contact there, and my goodness me, then Corey's up into P6 as well now. But Styles, I think, starting to struggle on the medium compound tyres that he pitted on quite a few laps ago. Then yes, he's now done almost 20 laps on these medium compound tyres. Mushroom then has got himself trying to get himself past get himself past Luke, I should say here, because he is now in the fight then with the well, not the Karens, I should say them, but he's in the fight for the lead of the Grand Prix, or the win of the Grand Prix, with Luke as well. Then heading into turn 1, then there's contact there, and oh my God, as Luke's gone off the circuit as well. Then he's gone right into the back then of Ginner. And all these cars coming through. Then Luke then is ghosted and is down to P7 then, unfortunately for Luke. Then Winnie has been passed by Corey Brennan. Winnie's off the circuit. Winnie's had an issue somewhere. I'm not quite sure what happened to Winnie then, but he's down to P7 now. So, my goodness me, you can't even... I don't think anybody wants to win this race, to be fair. Serious Mushroom then looks like he might be on track for winning this race as well then so far. He needs to try and stay within that range then of Ginner then, who's trying to pull that gap as well at this point. And I think he's almost out of 1 second then is Ginner. Then he is flying then in this lap. Then Serious Mushroom then he needs to get himself a move on. And he's got some DRS then down towards the hairpin then on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Then we're on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Is anybody making any moves then into the hairpin? Then there's a lap car then of Astrodron then, who's not going to be involved unfortunately in this situation then, but there we are then. There's all sorts of things going on in the final few laps here as well. Then Ginner then going to go around the final corner then, but it's going to be Mushroom then who takes the win then on track. Then Mushroom then flying around that final corner then for the Aston Martin team, and Serious Mushroom wins his second race of the season then for Aston Martin. A fantastic result then from the Mushroom, and what a race indeed then. Blimey, it's been action packed all over then as well. We've got more problems then as well then for Liam, I think, then in sector 3 then, but Serious Mushroom claims the victory here in Spain then, and a fantastic win for the Spanish driver then. Of course, Fernando Alonso, we are beaming down on him as well there in this after this race then. But yeah, there we good stuff indeed for Mushroom then as well. Then fantastic stuff indeed. Dynamo Dan then P2 tonight as well. Then fought back then after a difficult middle part of the race. Then he's got himself back in contention then, and back on the podium. Then back up into P2 as well then for Dynamo Dan. Fantastic stuff indeed. And very good stuff indeed. Good result for Red Bull then as well. Then Corey Brennan then from nowhere then has got himself up into podium places then, and fantastic drive from Corey as well then. And wow, what a race then from the Williams driver then. He's the highest ranked Williams then tonight as well. Then fantastic from Corey then. Styles then managed to get P4 then in the end. Then Ginner's got a 3-second motor then dropping down to P5. Then Luke P6 in the end after that contact into the back of Ginner. Then he's only 1,000 away then from the McLaren as well. Then Dan P7 then Winnie P8 then in the end. Unfortunately, not quite sure what happened to Winnie there at the very end then. Casey in P9, then Mr. Elite then in P10, Jake the Slayer will be P11, then Smithy P12, then IRS in P13, I think Vintage in P14, and potentially Yamato in P15, then running off the points paying positions. Wow, well, that was good stuff indeed. Unlucky Ginner says Beast as well then, and Let's Go Mushroom says Kiki as well then. Beast has said Let's Go Mushroom in the comments as well then, so good stuff indeed. And Ginner thinks he might better get that penalty removed. We'll have to get that reviewed after the race. But they'll have a look after the in the reports and that sort of thing. But there we go then. Mushroom then is on the top step of the podium then, alongside who is he? Alongside the Red Bull of Dynamo Dan then, and the Williams of Corey Brennan then. So good stuff indeed. That is your Spanish Grand Prix done and dusted then. We've got some action then to unfold, I think, in the stewards room then, especially after that last couple of laps as well there. But fantastic drive then from Mushroom then to get himself onto the top spot then. There is the classification then for the Spanish Grand Prix then. Mushroom, your race winner, then Dynamo Dan P2, Corey Brennan P3, running off the podium places, and the Haas of Styles then P4, Gino P5, but might be able to get that 3-second remove then and get himself back up into the race lead. Then Luke then P6, Dan P7, then Winnie P8, then with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well. Then fantastic result from Winnie then from 20th on the grid. Then Casey P9, then Mr. Elite P10, then Jake the Slayer P11, Smithy P12, IRS P13, Vintage P14, Liam P15, rounding off the points paying positions. Then Ballant in P16, Umambro P17, Real Ashton in P18, Astrojohn P19, and Ginger Age in P20. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then we'll get ourselves underway for some interviews, I think, shall we? We'll get that all sorted and crack on. Then we'll start off with our race winner then of Serious Mushroom. Then Mushroom, another race win under your belt then after China. How are you feeling after that one? That was a pretty epic race then from the spectators' point of view then. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a mental race, to be honest. Some dodgy stuff going on, but I just stuck with it.
And you put on a fantastic show then for Aston Martin. Then, of course, there's a certain Spanish driver then at Aston Martin that might be very proud of your result tonight then, and looking to replicate it as well then if he can this season. But after that race then, did you think you were going into that race then for a race win then, or what was your thoughts then after a fantastic qualifying as well?
But to be honest, in qualifying, I was actually surprised to be as high as I was. So then I got a good start, and then there's a lot of bashing about. And lucky for some people, not like Luke, because from what I've seen, he was taken out. So some dodgy driving, and there you go. I just capitalised on what was in front of me.
Well, Luke unfortunately went into the back of somebody there into turn one, so that was kind of.
Well, I didn't know if anyone turned in on him. I'm just saying, like, it was unlucky for him that he had a collision.
Yeah, exactly. But well, nonetheless, not worried about that then, because it was your race then to win then tonight. Then, and of course, you put on a fantastic pace then, of course. So with the battling pack then, did you think? Well, it seemed like we already saw some people then who were leading the train then fall back then in that race then. But you kept it consistent and kept it clean as well then, and of course got the result then for it as well. What was your thoughts then after all of that sort of fiasco in the last couple of laps? Then did you just try and avoid it and keep your nose clean, or what did you think about that?
Yeah, to be honest, like I saw as soon as Jenner got his penalty, was it Dynamo Dan behind me or Dan?
One of them. There's too many Dans. So.
I was gonna say I just saw a Dan approaching. Thought if I can just stay ahead of him, and then I should be all good. Like, and there's only like a lap to go, so I just got my head down and made sure I stayed with Jenner. To be honest.
Brilliant stuff indeed then, and it's a fantastic race winner, like I said, second of the season then for Serious Mushroom then, and hopefully you're going to be celebrating into the night after that one then. Fantastic stuff indeed. Well done. Well done, Mushroom.
Cheers, mate.
And we'll crack on then with whoever was second. Dynamo Dan then I think was second then, wasn't he? So Dynamo Dan then after, well, again the same sort of situation then with Mushroom. Then you had a fantastic qualifying then, good start to the race. The first stint was pretty good on the medium compound tyres, leading the race then for a couple of laps as well there, and then in the battles then for the final stint. Then what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was chaotic, to be fair. I had a difficult mid-sector, and I think I got clipped quite a few times, and it put me right at the back. But I didn't realise everyone in front of me was so close together. So when I caught up, I think I was like 9th, but they were literally all the cars were right in front of me within a second.
And you just made your way through. Then after that, of course, like Mushroom has said, there was a few bumps and scrapes going on there, and a few positions sort of opened up as well.
There was no way I could overtake any of them because they all had DRS and they were all fast down the straight. So all I could do was just keep up with them. And people just get eager to overtake, and ended up taking each other out. So I think I gained about 5 places just from people hitting each other, really. So just capitalised on it.
And another podium under your belt then, of course, like we were saying last week, you're on the charge then to get yourself in the top 3 then for bronze this season then. What's that going to do for your hopes then into the rest of the season then? Of course, the Midway Point coming up next week.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit of a habit, but I'm not the quickest, but I feel like this season I'll at least get some very big points compared to the last one. I think I've nailed down the car this time in the wheel, so hopefully more podiums to come.
brilliant stuff indeed. Then, unfortunately, well, congratulations to Dynamo Dan. Then, unfortunately, Corey hasn't joined us then from P3 tonight. Then in the Williams. Then, so well done indeed. Then to Corey as well. Then for the final podium place as well here tonight. Then that's it for the Spanish action. Then we'll be in Canada then for next week as well. Then so stay tuned then from Sunday then for gold, silver, and then bronze as well. Then in a week's time, and we'll be taking you through the Montreal Grand Prix. Then so stay tuned for that. Then plenty more action coming up. Then and we'll see you very soon.